Hey everybody. Hey Darren. Hey Unseen. Um, don't know how many we'll have in here tonight for Camp Cronenberg. I was away last week because last week was just, and I told my supervisor this today because I had a meeting with him. I said it was like the most hellish week I've had since I started here. And he kind of laughed and he said, "Well, if it after 8 months or so of working here, that's pretty good if you just had 1 week that it was like that." Um, so today wasn't too bad. We had a little bump as far as the onboardings, but thankfully that was something our engineering team took care of pretty quickly, and we were able to like move ahead, move onward and upward with the onboardings. Um, but since today was not as bad as last Monday, I certainly felt up to doing another edition of Camp Cronenberg. I actually missed doing the Camp Cronenberg shows, um, even though I only missed one. It just felt like, something big was missing because I didn't have this last week. Also, hopefully, TJ and I will both be able to return for another Friday the 13th, the series episode discussion. We're going to talk about another group of episodes from season 2. Um, Tomorrow night, I'm going to try to come up with something. I don't know if I'm going to manage it or not. But I'm certainly going to try because I felt like last week was just all I was just wiped out most of the week. So I'm hoping that I can do better this week and give you guys some enjoyable streams. Um, let's see. Thursday, of course, will be another episode of Seductive Poison and Resurgence. My kind of revival, excuse me, my voice is almost gone. Revival podcast of the old Seductive Poison podcast that I used to do. So there were several of you that expressed an interest in me continuing that or bringing that back. And so now I have. And most of the time it's just me on there, but there's an open invitation even to you guys out there if you want to join me for an episode or 2 or 3. Darren, you say, Dana, when do you want my 2 picks for reviews as my perks? Anytime you get ready, Darren, you throw them at me. You can put them in the chat here, and I'll make sure I write them down so that I'll be sure to review them for you. Or you can email them to me. It's whatever you want to do. So yeah, just throw them at me anytime you get ready. They're your perks, and you're entitled to them. So I want to make sure I fulfill all the things that are associated with each of these levels of perks. But anyway, so this week, because last week Steve gave me the genius idea on his part of doing 1970s horror made for TV movies. And so I'm wanting to continue that this week by talking about horror made for TV movies in the 80s. And then hopefully I'll move into the 90s after that. We can have like a third episode where we cover the ones in the 90s. Steve said, well, that stuff's going to be like a Lifetime or something. I said, no, I don't think that's going to be like Lifetime. Wolf Creek's one, Darren. Okay, let me just pull a piece of paper out of my printer here. Hey, Blissful. So let me write down Wolf Creek. I'm definitely going to have to watch that because I don't know that I've seen Wolf Creek, but I'm intrigued. So I'm looking forward to that. Uh, let's see. And let's see, Friday, I'll probably do one of those early Friday streams. Those are kind of, some people might think of them as throwaway streams or something, because like the last one, I was back there in the room with the snake and the iguana and the guinea pigs for the most part. And then I kind of went into the living room, and you got to see my bearded dragon, Ernie, and you got to see the parakeets, got to see my dogs for a little bit and stuff like that. But I enjoy doing them. It's a half day on Fridays for me usually. And so, I just enjoy I just really enjoy doing those little pop-up uh, streams, and I hope some of you guys and gals enjoy them as well. Um, oh, I did get some good news before we get into these movies for tonight. Like I said, I did have a meeting with my boss today, and we were talking about other stuff, and then he said, "So, are you still interested in taking Aaron's old job?" And I was like, "Heck yeah!" So it looks like I am going to be moving into Aaron's position of divvying out the tickets instead of working tickets. And I think this is just going to be a refreshing change of pace for me. It's not going to be immediate. My boss told me it'd probably be September or October, which, that's not waiting too long. And then I'll be moved into that position. And of course, Aaron's already, I think, taking the position of the field tech. He's going to be making more money. Steve asked me, he said, "Did you ask him how much much more money you were going to be making?" I said, "Steve, I didn't think that was appropriate." I said, "Obviously, Aaron wouldn't have took it if it wasn't more money. Now, I might not see significantly more money till I've been with Smile Doctors for a year, um, but that's coming up soon. And then, of course, at the beginning of next year, I'll have another one of those uh, performance evaluations or reviews or whatever you want to call them. And, my boss has already assured me that if I keep doing a good job, I'm going to get a pay raise the next time my performance evaluation is done. So things are looking up for me. Like I said, I think this is going to really be a refreshing change of pace for me to be able to do something different or do something a little different. Thank you, Bliss. So you say, "Oh my God, congratulations." Darren, you say those Friday streams break up the day. Really enjoy the end of the week. Well, good. And Blissful says she enjoys them. It's relaxing. So we got some yays instead of nays on that. I'm also going to be tonight, after this stream is over, more than likely putting up uh, the promotions for the two movies that I will be doing watch alongs for this weekend. So you guys can look forward to all of that. Also, I do have, in case anybody is in here now or comes in here later that would like to join me on the stream to talk about these 4 David Cronenberg movies. And the movies, of course, are ExistenZ. I was pronouncing that wrong until I actually watched the movie. Spider, A History of Violence, and Eastern Promises. Now, I will be totally honest with you guys. I was not able to find a free copy of A History of Violence, so I honestly didn't get to watch it. But I did watch ExistenZ and Eastern Promises. And Spider, I was not able to rewatch it, but I watched Spider. It's been years ago, but I remember some about it, and I've also got little cheap websites up here to help me along, especially with a history of violence. So, if somebody wants to come on here, the link's there in the chat. I have started. Um, if somebody comes in here later and says, "Well, daggone, the link to join you live got lost in the stream," just or lost in the chat, just let me know, and I'll be sure to put it back in there if you wanna join in. And if nobody wants to join in, I'll just blab about these movies for a while and then get off the air. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says, please hit the thumbs up. Thank you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this edition of Camp Cronenberg. And the first film I want to talk about is the 1999 film ExistenZ. Um, if you want to watch this for free and you don't own it, it is available right now at archive.org or the Internet Archive. And that's exactly how I watched it, because I asked Steve, I said, do you have this movie? And he's like, no, I don't think I have it. He did have Eastern Promises, um, which I was, able to watch off his hard drive. But so back to ExistenZ. I didn't really know if I was going to like this movie at first because I'm not a gamer. I never have been much of a gamer. That is not to say that I don't play video games from time to time. But this one kind of, piqued my interest once I got into it, because it concerns like a different kind of gaming. This is almost like I don't know, it seemed like a futuristic type of thing. And you could definitely tell it was a David Cronenberg film. And it stars Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jude Law. And we also have performances by Willem Dafoe in this. Um, and I know I'm probably forgetting some people. I think it's Robert Silverman. I think he was in it playing a character. Um, and he's pretty much a David Cronenberg regular or a Canadian film regular, that has been on everything from Prom Night to this movie, basically. So, and guys and gals, I am going to give spoilers on some of these. So if you have not seen some of these, when I'll let you know when I'm gonna, give away a spoiler. Okay. So that you can, plug your ears or leave the room or mute me or whatever you got to do, for a couple of minutes while I, spoil the ending or whatever. Okay. Because I always like to give that warning up front because I don't want to spoil anything intentionally for somebody that hasn't seen it. Okay. So this concerns something, I guess you would call it organic gaming. I think that's what Steve called it too. And so you have Jennifer Jason Leigh, who's playing this programmer who creates these games. And so a bunch of people are coming to see her and participate in her new game experience. Okay. So everybody has I think they call them pods. And I mean, they are organic. They seem to be alive. And I think they very much are alive in a lot of respects. Um, and they have these little things coming out of them that look kind of like cords, but they also kind of look like an umbilical cord. So several people from the audience get picked to come up on stage with Jennifer Jason Leigh's character and experience this new game, ExistenZ. And so the first group of people comes up there with her and she says, okay, I'm going to download this game into all of you guys. And She says it's going to be a wild ride. So, don't panic and all that. So she starts doing this, and everybody's got a pod in their lap, and it starts pulsating and stuff. Clearly David Cronenberg type of stuff, right? So then this young guy, who I felt suspicious of him as soon as he came in the room. Okay. And all of a sudden, he's got his own pod that he said he brought. And he pulls out a weapon that looks kind of like I guess, an organic sort of gun. That it looks like it's in the shape of a gun, but it's got like plants growing on it or roots growing on it. But he ends up like shooting Jennifer Jason Leigh in the shoulder, and he's screaming and stuff. And it's like a whole, assassination type attempt. Okay. And it appears that he kills some people too. But the guy who was like greeting people when they came in and would have to scan them for security reasons and stuff, but evidently he didn't pick up on the fact that this guy had a weapon. So he gets told by a guy who's clearly dying that he has to get Jennifer Jason Leigh's character and take her away somewhere and go into hiding, because there's some kind of uprising and people are wanting to kill her for, I guess, creating this game. And so this is where it gets kind of, as if it wasn't kind of bizarre, but you're watching David Cronenberg, so it's going to be bizarre. It gets really bizarre at this point because they end up immersing themselves in her game, basically, the game she's supposedly created. So, and they have these things called bioports, I believe, that somebody has to put in them, like on their lower back. And then they essentially can get games plugged into them. So they go to this game store, but it's not like any game store I've ever seen, right? And they have these little things that look like tiny versions of the pod that everybody had at the beginning of the movie. And they essentially like plug that into the bowel port, and then it kind of goes and kind of just sucks into their back and goes inside their body. And at one point, Jude Law's character finds out he's infected, and he's like, "Oh my God, I'm infected." And she says, "Don't worry about it." And she's got something that looks like an ink pen, and she plugs it into the bowel port, and she says it's going to suck out the infection or whatever. And then she's crying over her pod because she says her pod is dying and there's not anything she can do about it. And she's crying as if it's a pet or a person or something that's dying. And so they meet various characters along the way. Some are friends, some are foes in a lot of respects. And well, gonna have to take the hat off for a bit. So essentially that's what the whole movie is about, is them meeting up with different people, having different experiences. And truth be told, it was an interesting movie to me once I got into it. But here's where I'm going to give the spoiler. So, for those of you that had not seen this movie and don't want to know about the end, you might want to step out of the room, plug your ears, mute me, do something. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to get situated, and then I'm going to spoil the ending, basically. So we'll give it another few seconds here. Okay. I'm going to spoil it now. So, eventually, it's like they come out of a trance or something. And what it turns out is that Jennifer Jason Leigh's character was not the programmer. She was a player in a game created by someone else. And she's, thanking the creator of this game for allowing her to be a programmer within this game. And it turns out that all the people that Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jude Law interacted with was all part of the game, and they were all players in this game. So you saw, Willem Dafoe and some of the other people that popped up within the fabric of the film and the game, essentially. And so then everybody kind of, disperses and stuff. And so the actual creator of the game is talking to his assistant or whoever. And he says, I feel, I'm worried, I feel uneasy, because he said, I don't know where the assassination thing came from at the beginning. He said, because I didn't come up with that. That wasn't my thing. So he says, I'm concerned because it must have been somebody that was actually playing the game that created that scenario. So, for whatever reason, Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jude Law, well, they're a couple in real life. Not in real life outside the movie, but real life within the movie that outside of the game. And for whatever reason, they had their dog there. And so you see Jude Law thanking somebody for taking care of his dog while they were playing the game. And they walk up to the creator of the game and want to talk to him for a second. And so he's like, okay. And that's when things get weird. Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jude Law say, don't you feel guilty about, causing pain with people or destruction and all that? And he's like, what? I don't get what you're talking about. And so Jennifer Jason Leigh, like, they pull something that looks like it was the fur of the dog, but it was just a covering, and there's like leather around the dog's waist, and they pull a gun out of there and shoot him. And they were the assassins, basically. And so they come up to this one guy at the very end, and he's like, you don't have to shoot me. And then he says, wait, are we still in the game? And then the movie ends. So it's kind of ambiguous the way the movie ends. Is it like another part of the game? Were Jennifer Jason Leigh and Jude Law really assassins? I mean, David Cronenberg pretty much leaves it open, but it was an enjoyable film, and I definitely would like to go back and rewatch it again at a later date. So that's ExistenZ from 1999. The next one is Spider from 2002. And no, it's not about a spider. It's about a man who is very disturbed. Okay. So it's listed as a psychological thriller. Produced and directed, of course, by David Cronenberg. It's also based on a novel by Patrick McGrath. And Patrick McGrath wrote the screenplay. So this was premiered at the 2002 Cannes Film Festival. It enjoyed some media buzz, but it was released only in a few cinemas at the end of the year by Sony Pictures Classics. The film enjoyed much acclaim by critics and especially by Cronenberg enthusiasts. So if you're a big Cronenberg fan and you haven't seen this, you might want to give this one a try. He got a Best Director award at the Canadian Genie Awards. The stars of the film, Ralph Fiennes and particularly Miranda Richardson, received several awards for their work in the film. So the movie Spider concerns Dennis Clegg, who is a schizophrenic man. He's just been released from a mental hospital. He is known as Spider. He's given a room in a halfway house for mentally disturbed people, run by Mrs. Wilkinson. While he's in his new home, he starts piecing together his memory of an apparently fateful childhood event. Roaming the nearby derelict urban legend in the local canal, Spider starts to relive a period of his childhood in 1950s London with his mother, an unfaithful father. Spider witnesses Bill murder his mother by hitting her on the head with a spade, with the passive support of his mistress, who's a prostitute named Yvonne. And then, much to his horror, she moves into the house and they just want to act like nothing that happened, that this is your mother now. This prostitute is your mother. So, as clearly disturbed as Spider is, he starts seeing Mrs. Wilkinson, his landlady, turn into Yvonne. And what he does, he uses strands of yarn to form a web-like construction in his room. He steals Mrs. Wilkinson's keys to gain access to different rooms. Then he starts to relive a memory from his childhood where he kills Yvonne by using a similar web-like pulley mechanism to turn on the gas in the kitchen. However, it appears to show Mrs. Clegg lying dead, instead implying it really was his mother all along, and Yvonne was actually a delusion. So you can see where this movie has got quite a few twists and turns in it. So then Spider comes to the realization when he sneaks late one night into Mrs. Wilkinson's room, still seeing her as the mistress, and appears ready to kill her, but then he backs away after she turns back to normal. And then, of course, he has to go back to the asylum because she reports him. But I do remember this movie, being very dark and very atmospheric. Almost too dark, not so dark that it's unwatchable, but it's definitely, as you can imagine, it's not a feel good film. And it's not one, this is not like the earlier Cronenberg films where I can watch them, over and over. These later films that Cronenberg was making, with the exception of 1999's ExistenZ, which I just talked about, but 2002 moving forward, his films got quite dark. Now you might be saying, "Well, Dana, Videodrome was dark." A lot of his films are dark, but these seem to go into more realistic dark places. If you guys know what I mean there. Because you're dealing with things like schizophrenia, delusions, and stuff like that, things that are very real in society. And so, Spider's not one that I continually want to go back to, but I definitely want to try to watch it in full again, at least one more time. Okay, so the next one is A History of Violence. That's from 2005. This is one I didn't get to watch at all. So, for those of you that have seen it, please forgive me for the disjointed way I'm talking about this. I really wanted to be able to watch it. However, I don't own it. Steve doesn't own it. I don't think he has it on the hard drive. And I could not find it for free to watch online. So, we're just going to talk briefly about it. basic plot and stuff. So, History of Violence is an action thriller, directed by David Cronenberg and written by Josh Olson. It's an adaptation of a 1997 graphic novel by John Wagner and Vince Locke. It stars Viggo Mortensen, who will also be seen in Eastern Promises, which I'm going to talk about here in a second. William Hurt and Ed Harris. So in the film, Tom Stahl, a diner owner, becomes a local hero after he foils an attempted robbery, but is threatened by a gangster, where Tom must face his past and also protect his family. So, as I said, Tom is a diner owner. He lives in the small town of Millbrook, Indiana, with his wife Edie and his children Jack and Sarah. So one night, two spree killers enter Tom's restaurant, threaten those inside, and sexually assault one of his employees. Tom then kills them and is hailed a hero. While the incident makes national news, a few days later, Tom is visited by a man named Carl Fogarty, who alleges that Tom is actually Joey Cusack, a former gangster with the Irish mob in Philadelphia. Tom denies this, but Carl remains persistent and begins to stalk his family. So under pressure, Tom's relationship with Edie, Jack, and Sarah faces continued strain. So following an argument with Tom over the use of violence at school, Jack runs away only to be captured and held hostage by Carl. Carl confronts Tom and demands his return to Philadelphia in exchange for his son's release. So after Jack is freed, Tom manages to kill Carl's henchman until Carl shoots him. Wounded Tom drops his facade and manifests his former self, but Jack shoots and kills Carl with a shotgun before he can fight back. So at the hospital, furious Edie confronts Tom, who admits to being Joey Cusack, revealing that he started a new life to escape his past. And then Tom becomes further isolated from the rest of his family and the community. So then one day he gets a phone call from his brother, Richie, who demands his return. Return to Philadelphia, Tom learns that his past actions have delayed Richie's advancement with the Irish mob. Tom offers peace, but Richie orders his men to kill his brother. Tom manages to escape from being strangled to death. He kills the gangsters, confronts Richie before shooting him dead, and then he returns home to find his family eating dinner. Tom is offered food by Jack and Sarah, signaling his acceptance back into their lives. So, I will say that normally I'm not into movies that are based on graphic novels. Hey, Uncle Bill, you said wasn't the Great Dane is going on in here? Talking about Cronenberg movies, but this is A History of Violence is one that I did not actually get to see, Uncle Bill. So I was doing a brief rundown of the plot. So I don't know if this is one that I will be returning to at some point if I can find a way to watch it. I don't think this would be one I'd want to buy. And, again, I'm a real big Cronenberg fan. However, and I hate to sound like, an elitist or something, but I'm a fan more so of Cronenberg's early work than his later work. That's not to say that I don't like some of his later films. It's just, it seemed like somewhere along the way, he went away from, which that's his prerogative. He went away from the body horror and stuff like that to, crime thrillers or action thrillers or whatever you want to call them. Instead of, the bizarro stuff that we were used to him doing early on. Yeah, I know, Uncle Bill, I need to get my shit together, but last week was a shit fest at work, and so, that's put me behind on a lot of things, unfortunately. So, again, A History of Violence doesn't really sound like it's my cup of tea. But for those of you that may have seen it, you may think differently. For instance, Uncle Bill, have you seen A History of Violence? I'd love to hear your take on it if you've seen it. But in the meantime, I'm going to move on to the last one, which I think Dirk gave me kind of a warning about this one. Eastern Promises from 2007. Whoa. You talk about a movie starting off with a bang. So you have this guy who's sitting in a barber chair, and it looks normal enough. The barber is, doing his hair, and then I guess this guy is his son comes in, and I think his son has got some issues. Um and then all of a sudden his dad starts screaming at him to take this guy out that's in the chair, and he literally takes the blade from his father and slits this guy's throat in the barber chair. I'm like, holy crap, you know. And then it's not over after that either, because there's a later scene where Viggo Mortensen's character, and I believe most of these people are Russian people on here. I had a hard time, like, you know, they had such great, they must have had a great dialect coach or something, because a lot of times I had to really listen to what Viggo Mortensen was saying to make sure I was understanding it. And I think some of the time they were actually speaking in Russian, but I didn't see any subtitles on there. So I had no clue what they were saying. Thankfully, they didn't do that too often. So a you have a side story of, you see this young pregnant girl who stumbles into a pharmacy, um, and she's asking for help, and she's bleeding all over the place. And so they take her to the hospital, and this is a really explicit scene too. They take her to the hospital, and the baby's heartbeat is slowing down, slowing down, slowing down. So they say, we've got to get the baby out. And this one girl is a nurse, or woman, I guess I should say. And so the baby, I don't know if this is some kind of stock footage or something, but man, oh man, that looked like a baby that was literally, gasping for breath, and they put the mask on the baby, and oh, it was heartbreaking to watch a tiny little baby with this on. Um, and so as the story goes along, well, let me talk about this one scene. If you thought that the scene of the guy getting his throat slit in the barber chair wasn't enough, then you have Viggo Mortensen coming in with his partner, who, well, this other guy is the son of, they almost seem like mafia people, like Russian mafia people or something, because the father sends his son and Viggo Mortensen out to take care of the body of this guy that had his throat slit. So I'm guessing that they cut the fingers off of this dead body to, I don't to remove fingerprints, or the identification on the fingers. I don't know. Maybe that wasn't it. But so he systematically, Viggo Mortensen's character is cutting this dead guy's fingers off. And he tells the guy that, told his son to slit this guy's throat, because the guy's looking all squirmy, like, he says, I'm about to cut this guy's fingers off, so you might want to step out of the room. So you have all of that, and then they, put a bag essentially around the body and throw it in the canal or a river or whatever body of water they throw it in. So meanwhile, the mother of the baby dies. She doesn't make it, and she has a diary on her. And so the nurse takes the diary home because she wants to find out if she can find some family information, because she doesn't want this poor baby to go to the state essentially and go to an orphanage, because she tells her mother, she says, if this baby goes into the orphanage system, the baby will never get out. And so I'm trying to find the family of this girl who died so that I can make sure the baby goes to the family. So eventually you find out that Viggo Mortensen's partner raped this girl when she was 14. That's how she got pregnant. And he doesn't want anybody to know, one, that he raped this girl, because that's statutory rape. She was 14 years old, and he's essentially a grown man. So he's doing everything he can to prevent anybody from finding out. So the nurse, unfortunately, she ends up going to the guy's father, and because she can't read the diary because I guess it's in Russian, and she wants somebody to translate it. And so that's the wrong guy, because when he starts reading it, he finds out, oh, it's my son that did this. So it puts her and her mother and her uncle, who's living with them, all in danger. And there's another really, this is a gory scene. I'm just wondering if this was unrated or whatever. But Viggo Mortensen is in I don't want to call it a bathhouse, like a sauna or something. And these two guys come in there to kill him. And he's fighting them all buck ass naked. You can see his penis and everything. And he's like flying all over the place. They stabbed him, slashed him, everything. And he's still, they kicked him, they've done everything. And he's like the Energizer Bunny. He's still going. And he like end up stabbing these guys. One guy causes him to go backwards onto the knife in the back of his head. Another guy, I think he pretty much breaks his arm, and then sticks the knife in the guy's eye. And there's blood running out all over the place. So really bloody movie, fair warning here. So again, I'm gonna spoil the ending. So if you have not seen Eastern Promises, then you might want to, like I say, mute me, plug your ears, walk out of the room, do something, and then I'll spoil the ending here. All right, I'm gonna spoil the ending now. So the guy that raped the girl ends up kidnapping this little baby from the hospital and packs her into a duffel bag like thing. And you see him in this alley kind of sitting there. And I guess his plan is to zip it up and just throw it in the water, and the baby will die. But fortunately, he cannot do it because he's saying it's just a baby. He's like, he's going through this whole thing. He's saying, I'm sorry, little baby. I'm sorry. And I was like, oh, God, don't let him kill the baby. And meanwhile, Viggo Mortensen's character and the nurse show up, and they say, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this to this poor defenseless child. Okay. So he finally ends up giving the baby to Viggo Mortensen, who gives it to the nurse. And then Viggo Mortensen and the other guy go off together, and I don't know if it's like Christmas Eve or Christmas night or whatever, but the whole movie takes place around Christmas time. And so basically, they go off to celebrate or whatever. And um, so in the next scenes, the nurse has apparently adopted the baby. She's taking, she's going to be the mother of this child. And the child is grown. She looks about, maybe 1 or 2 years old, or maybe 6 months to 1 year old. And you see her and her mom helping to take care of this child. And then the last scene of the movie is Viggo Mortensen's character, and you hear the voiceover of the girl who died um, after her baby was born, the one that was raped by the other guy. And it just kind of slowly closes in on his face, and then the movie ends. So it ended good for the baby, but you're wondering, you're left wondering what kind of life is Viggo Mortensen's character going to have after all he's been through, all he's seen, and all of that. But not a bad little movie, just very, very violent. So you might want to take that into account before you actually, watch this film, or if you are considering it. So, guys and gals, I know that was really quick. And, I've went on for almost an hour, and I'd be glad to stay on here a few more minutes, at least till 9 o'clock or so, if y'all would like me to. Darren, if you are still in here, if you've come up with another movie that you'd like me to review for one of your perks for your membership, lay it on me. So Alfa Romero, you say History of Violence is really good. I may have to, if I can get a hold of a copy of it, I might, I have to actually sit down and watch it. Uncle Bill, you say Daner. This and Eastern Promises are great. They don't feel like Cronenberg movies in a way, but in a way they do. Well, yeah, I really think Eastern Promises would be my favorite of the two if I had been able to watch A History of Violence. It's just, like I said, I've never been big on stuff that's based on graphic novels, very much. But I'm not saying I wouldn't like it. I'm just saying usually that's not my cup of tea, those types of movies. Um, well, hell, Uncle Bill, you should have came on here with me live on the stream and talked about it. But a little birdie told me that you weren't using your new laptop until Wednesday for your birthday stream or whatever. No, that was the one I actually didn't get a chance to watch, Uncle Bill, because I couldn't find a copy of it. And Steve didn't have a copy of it, I don't think. Well, I know that's correct. I don't think this little birdie would have lied to me, but it's like why you didn't unbox the damn thing? Let's use it. Darren, you say you're trying to think of something you haven't seen. Well, you got a few more minutes before I get off here. Otherwise, Darren, you can let me know either by email or in one of the other streams, and I'll be glad to take a gander at whichever one you pick. So, Uncle Bill, you say, oh my God, find it right now. Watch it. You say, I'm OCD. OCD about me watching this movie, or OCD about when you're going to use your laptop? You didn't even come in on my Terror on Tour watch along, Uncle Bill. Aren't you ashamed? Aren't you ashamed? You know who came on there with me? Because CK didn't come on there with me. You didn't come on there with me. Bless TJ's heart, he came on there with me. I don't think I have, Darren. I don't think I have seen Blind Terror or See No Evil. Let me write that one down. So, um, Darren's got his picks for reviews from 1971. You say, okay. So yeah, I'm actually looking forward to watching those. Uh, so I guess my next question for you, Darren, is: would you rather me just do a video and upload the video reviewing these, or would you rather me do a live stream and review them? Because I can do either one, whichever one you would prefer. I mean, I realize that you can watch a live stream on the replay. You can watch a video anytime you like as well. But I just like to know what people prefer in that case, because these are your perks. I mean, you're paying money for membership, so. But let's see. Trying to think if there was any. Uncle Bill's gotten suddenly quiet after I was admonishing him for not being on my watch on for Terror on Tour. And I didn't have anybody on there live on the stream with me for Almost Famous last night. I was shocked. I really thought I would have somebody on there for that one. But I don't know. Maybe people are getting tired of watch alongs. I mean, for those of you that are still in here, we got 8 people in here. Maybe maybe some of you guys and gals can let me know. Hey, are you getting tired of the watch alongs? Are they boring? Is there anything I can do to spice them up? Or Darren, you say if you do a live stream, maybe I can jump on. Just give me a week in advance. All right, that sounds good. I won't make you wait too long for them, Darren. I'll try to get on watching them. Hopefully this week's going to be a little lighter than last week. So I did want to remind you, though, that next week's Camp Cronenberg, we're down to like the final 2 Camp Cronenbergs. I'm going to be talking about A Dangerous Method, Maps to the Stars. I think I'm going to do a comparison of Crimes of the Future from 2022, which was just last year, and Crimes of the Future from 1970, which I believe may have been a short film, and Consumed from 2014. And then the last Camp Cronenberg, we will be talking about some of David Cronenberg's short films like Transfer, From the Drain, Stereo, Camera, and The Death of David Cronenberg from 2021. And trust me, I've seen some of that. It's bizarre. It's definitely David Cronenberg. Yeah, I'm sure you are terribly ashamed, Uncle Bill. Uh, no, really though. CK let me know that you might have been busy with things with your kiddos, so I totally get that. I'm just yanking your chain a little bit. I just miss Uncle Bill being on, because there for a while he was on a lot of my streams, but I know school's back in session and all that, and so people with kids have certain duties that they must fulfill, and I have to be understanding of that. I just like to tease Uncle Bill and CK from time to time. But got another couple of minutes in here, so if anybody wants to ask me anything or complain about anything or anything like that, Uh, just please, no death threats. Um, I'll take all these things into consideration. Coco Darren did. He mentioned this Blind Terror from 1971, which was also known as See No Evil. Um, Uncle Bill, you want to know if I'm going to be in your birthday stream? Well, I mean, Wednesday is the night that and why are you doing it on Wednesday? That's not your freaking birthday. Are you busy on the night of your actual birthday? Because Wednesday ain't your birthday. Wednesday's the 16th. Yeah, exactly. It's Wednesday, which technically isn't your birthday. Um, but Coco, you said that's a good flick. But when are you having it? Is it going to be like at 10 or what? Because that's usually the night TJ and I do the Friday the 13th, the series episode discussions. But, as long as this isn't going to be like a super short one, I'm sure I can stop in there later. Oh, that's okay, Blissful. You say, Dana, sorry that I caught that movie on something back in 2013. Or, sorry, skip that. She said, Dana, sorry, my kitchen is continuing its hate, Blissful, to her. LOL. That's okay, Blissful. Um, Coco, you say, I caught that movie on something back in 2013. Really good. Uncle Bill, why do y'all always blame poor old TJ? Say, oh, Jesus, God, old TJ will have you on there until 3 a.m. LOL. Nah, we've been trying to tighten up these streams. Hey, Uncle Bill, by the way, you weren't in here earlier to hear my good news, I don't think, or you weren't chatting. But it seems that I'm going to be changing positions and be going into handing out tickets instead of taking tickets. So I guess I got the job because my boss asked me today if I was still interested in it. And I said, oh, heck yeah. And so about September or October, possibly, I should be moved into that position. And right now, this girl's very happy about that because I've had enough of taking tickets. Am I excited about moving to a different job? Yes, sir, I am. You say it's Wednesday at 10 p.m. Okay. Well, I'm sure we won't be done by 10 p.m. We maybe can make it by then. But depending on how long you're on there, I'll definitely stop by if you're still streaming when we're done. Yeah, Blitz's got the party horns or whatever out again. And Coco says, congrats, Dana. Thank you, Coco. So I have went, Blitz's wanting to know anyone has a sledgehammer I can borrow. Thank you, Unseen. You say congratulations, Dana. Oh goodness. Now Blissful saying explosives. Uncle Bill, you say, oh my God, tell him to wrap it up. Wrap that shit up. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, Uncle Bill, we'll try really hard to be done. We can go through them faster. I know we could. And then, we'll promise people we'll focus more on the next group of episodes, but we got to take off because we got to get to Uncle Bill's birthday stream. I was in for CK, so least I can do is come to yours. Oh, and by the way, Uncle Bill, speaking of your birthday, it won't be on your birthday, but you're going to be getting something from me. And you may have to, are you still using that same email address that you've been using for a long time? I don't want to mention it on here in case you don't want anybody else to know it, but You say, oh man, I like presents. Well, if you don't want to put it in the chat or anything, just send me your email in a text or something. Um, Blissful says, UB, I'm making you a special jello mold. Yeah, same one. Okay. Well, if it's the same one you've been using, then yeah. Okay. Um, Uncle Bill, you say, yeah, I mean, Helen Keller could go through them faster. Thanks a lot. All right, guys and gals. I've had a lot of fun talking about these David Cronenberg films, and also, a lot of fun just kind of uh, BSing and things. That's always fun. So I want to thank all of you for stopping by tonight to listen to me ramble for a little over an hour. But as I always say, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night. And I will see everyone on the flip side. Y'all have a good night now, and I will see everybody next time, which will hopefully be tomorrow night. Bye for now, guys.